Hi everybody, Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Winds channel. I'm going to take a look at the astrological weather report for pretty much the last week of February. It's the 20th through the 26th, and February, of course, is always a short month. It, as they say in the old days, got robbed a day out of the calendar, and they gave it to August because they wanted to have an extra day of summer. So trying to fool the times, I guess, or something back in the old days. It doesn't really work like that, does it? But I don't know. We'll see. Supposedly this is around the time winter's back breaks. We'll see. But anyway, not a real lot to discuss this week. It's mainly what I consider a Mercury week, and it's kind of front-loaded towards the beginning of the week, Monday through Wednesday. Mercury is going to make 3 aspects to planets then, and then make another one on the weekend. And then there's a couple long-term aspects that are kind of frustrating and reflect a lot about what's going on in society that I wanted to talk a little bit about too. But just a little reminder, the Astrological Winds channel is a free service. It's on YouTube every week. So if you do have a YouTube account, become a follower and turn on your notifications and you'll know that it's on. It's also available on all kinds of podcasts. Really no need to watch the video. You can really hear it. So just look up the Astrological Winds channel on your favorite podcast. If it's not on that one, try another. It's distributed through Buzzsprout. There's about 20 of them that pick it up. And it is a free service, so if you guys can please pass the link on to somebody else when you're done in order to repay me for that service. And if you're interested in readings, professional astrology reading services, best way to get me is through my email, mattHue823@gmail.com, and I'll have some more details on that at the end. I really like to not get too lost on that in the beginning and just get into what's going on. So like I said, it's really a Mercury week, and a week of where when I see the aspects, there's several aspects going on. It's going to sextile Chiron, square Uranus, trine Mars, semi-square Venus, and also sesquiquadrate Ceres. So, in general, to me, it's a week of connecting with others, and those connections are going to kind of be like cutting edge. They're going to be stimulating. They're going to bring in new information, some of it positive, some of it negative, kind of working through it. Of course, those are always relevant as to how we judge things anyway, whether something is positive or negative. But what it does do is make us very active. We really want to commit to moving forward. And once again, as I've said, great time to do that because up until April 21st, all the planets are in direct motion right now. So it all starts on Monday, today, and that's when Mercury sextiles Chiron. And I think that's the initiator here of this energy. It's the one that's where the mind is kind of curious about things it's gotten exposed to, and it's like wanting to take in more information, and that information is also almost like a healing balm to the mind. It's like giving it some of the answers that it needs. And so there's opportunities out there basically to take in this new information on Monday, and it's to me it's really what is stimulating the rest of the week, this attitude of this curious attitude that wants to learn more, right? And that learning process, because it's Chiron involved, does bring some mental healing, intellectual healing, easing of the mind is a good way to say it. But it's interesting because what it brings in very next day, Tuesday, is Mercury square Uranus. Now, Mercury, when it gets to me in tougher aspects with the long-term planets, the planets, the outer planets that are moving a lot slower, from Saturn on, let's say, I really think, it's not as tough as dealing with some of the other planets, Venus or Mars or the Sun or Moon, getting involved with those planets. Somehow Mercury, can still work well. And in this case, when Mercury is squaring Uranus, it's the two planets of the mind. It's the two planets that the intellect and the mind is stimulated, and so like Mercury is kind of like the more mundane mind. It's the things that it's our communications, our information every day, things like that, whereas Uranus is the higher vibration of the mind. It's the more intuitive flashes of ingenuity that come in, and they can come in as these really intense, condensed packages, that are very rapid and can be very acute, and you can see them intuitively very clearly, but it's very difficult, especially with the square, to get that down into the lower mind without getting like this kind of like jamming feeling, like you're and like it's too fast or it's too much for the Mercury part of the mind to grasp the whole idea that rapidly. So that's the issue with Mercury square Uranus, is there's going to be some ingenious ideas that are going to come from this information we're bringing in from the Mercury Chiron, but it's going to overstimulate us. It's going to get us almost like edgy, nervous, even at times irritated, things moving too fast, So that's the challenge of that, is to figure out what we really need to hold on to when we're getting ideas like that some of those ideas are brilliant, but we're not able right then to like get through all the details and kind of really unwind it, where Mercury has to really sit in and do that. If there's just a little too much coming in at once, stimulating, and that can come from conversations with others. That's a lot of times where it does come from when it's Mercury Uranus, where we have these electric conversations with other people that really stimulate us and bring us new ideas. Or any other way that information can come in is mercurial too, like sitting at the computer, getting some information, or bringing in news or some kind of class or some kind of lecture or something that you saw in the media that brought in or stimulates, but it excites us, so it's not really like, once again, my point is, it's not really a negative thing with Mercury. Mercury is, even traditionally was always considered like a neutral, planetary energy. And so like it's, when it's getting involved with these other planets, it's, it's still neutral. It's how we're, dealing with that energy that really determines, how we're having it. But it's very overstimulating. And one of the things we can do too, one of the dangers with Mercury Uranus, is to jump to conclusions or speak too quickly, too impulsively, and regret it very quickly, because we realize that wasn't really the way we wanted to come across, or the information is changing so rapidly that it completely, supersedes just momentarily ago what was your reality. So it's a quickly shifting sands kind of energy. And then Wednesday we get Mercury trining Mars, which is in Mercury's sign still of Gemini. So this is really stimulating the ideas that at this point, by midweek, we're going to be feeling like, wow, all this energy has really got me going. I am really excited about some of this stuff I've been exposed to, and I am willing to put work into this. A lot of mental work, a lot of drive and motivation to move forward and to organize and get things planned out and actually sit down and roll up your sleeves and start doing that stuff. So it's and having a really positive attitude about it too, and the ability to work in harmony with others who are congruent with the same ideas that you have. And therefore it's good for things like connecting with the public, with people that that have those similar ideas. It's also good for very innovative planning. Getting things down, getting things together, getting together with organizations, and associations, and, good negotiating skills, things like that. But it's a very stimulated, driven by these new ideas. And so then Mercury takes a little bit of a break, before the weekend. And so what I'd like to talk to you a little bit about, because to me it kind of like goes into a little bit of a different zone on the weekend, is what is going on Thursday. We have two long-term transits going on that are both kind of minor, but they're both very obvious in what's going on in society. And because they involve Jupiter and Saturn, the two societal planets, that's where we're going to see most of this manifestation. We're going to feel it, inside and understand it, but like really where we're seeing it is on a bigger level. And the first of those is Saturn is semi-square Chiron, okay? And so that is feeling like really frustrated and stuck by like the structures of society and where they're at right now. They're like, it's almost like they're falling apart and they're hurting us, but we're not able to do anything about it. We're stuck in certain patterns, certain, it can be abstract too. It can be the beliefs and values of society are actually what's frustrating, the inability to move on, or the ability, I should say, to move on from where we're at. So, there's like this desire to change, but there doesn't seem to be any power in being able to do that. And it can be very self-defeating, because it's like, we're looking within that old structure, Saturn, and the answer is not really there. And every time we think we can maybe adjust something of those old patterns, it's just ending up being a frustrating thing. And you can just see that in so many of the ways society is going right now. The institutions, the structures, just really not seemingly able to upgrade where they need to be in a modern sense to help, straighten out some of the issues going on in society. And what's interesting is Jupiter is opposite Pallas at the same time. And that shows what, when these two energies combine together, Jupiter is all about society too, and Pallas is all about our ideas, and what this is showing actually, and think about this. What is frustrating our ability to change, the Saturn semi-square Chiron, what this aspect is saying is it's our ethics, it's our morals, it's our standards, that we are still trying to live by old ones, and they're not working anymore. And a lot of that has to do with Jupiter. It's about the ambitions we have, and the power and growth we want to bring into our lives, and what the way we go about that is what's creating problems. It's going against our own ethics and morals, and so that's coming out in society. It's almost like trying to connect two things that are not able to really connect. So it's blocking a lot of the creative ideas that are for the advancement of society that Pallas can normally bring in. Pallas can be very cutting edge about wanting to bring in new ideas that bring equality and more balance and harmony within society, but it's our own ambitions and the way we're used to doing things that are creating this blockage. So I think that's something for all of us to contemplate, because we're all members of society. How are we doing that in our own lives? How are we somehow still subscribing to an older system, even though we want change, that, is somehow inside we know is not morally or ethically aligning with where we're at anymore, and what are we going to do to change that? Very interesting question. So then on the weekend, Mercury again gets, and Venus and Ceres all kind of get together in some little, configuration going on. So Mercury semi-squares Venus. Now, first of all, Mercury and Venus never get far apart from each other as far as from the Earth's perspective, as far as from our astrology, and from a geodetic perspective. So for Mercury, the only tough aspect they can really get into with one another is a semi-square. So, so they never can get 90 degrees apart and become a square. So this is really interesting because Mercury semi-squares Venus, it brings a lot of stuff out in relationships. It brings stuff that, where there was discord, disagreements, things like that. It comes out because Mercury once again can calm the emotions down. It's that cooler intellect, that neutral energy that can sit in the middle of a negotiation and keep the emotions at bay, so that it can actually come to some kind of compromise or agreement, even if you don't exactly see eye to eye. So that's what that's all about. It's about being with your loved ones and your friends and having fun. It's a light-hearted thing, but there's also understanding that there is, some disagreement and discord, but we can talk about this and come to some kind of agreement and not get overly emo about it. So and it's really good too for stimulating yourself, by going out socially, having fun, exposing yourself to art or nature or beautiful places. Short recreational trip things, would be advantages. Now, what's interesting is they're both hitting Ceres, which is retrograde, and all the other planets, regular planets, are direct. But Ceres is one of the asteroids, and it main 4 asteroids, and it is retrograde right now. And Venus is opposite Ceres, and Mercury is sesquiquadrate Ceres. So what's that showing is that some of the issues that are from that discord and disagreement are probably about getting the things we need, the nurturing on emotional levels, the security on physical levels, and having to make decisions as to within certain relationships about how that's going, and then having to either talk it out or just being okay, this is not working for me anymore. But there's a lot of blockage in that area right now, and maybe people not living up to our expectations and feeling a little bit crestfallen about that. So very interesting that Ceres is involved in that, and shows that that's likely where the crux of the disagreement and discord that Mercury semi-square Venus is bringing in is related to nurturing and getting the things we need from our loved ones, the resources, both abstract and physical, that we need, and and having that expectation not met. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week. Next week, the moon cycle will now slip into the following week, which is really nice because I'll be able to do the March monthly next week, and then we'll also do the weekly for the last 2 days of February and the first 5 days of March. And so, yeah, there's a real sweet aspect coming up there, and Mercury is also going to change signs and go into Pisces, so some interesting stuff next week. So, all right, that just about does it. So once again, this is the Astrological Wings channel. I'm Matt Lawton. I've been a professional astrologer for over 20 years. This is a free service that I've been doing on YouTube for a few years now. Before that, did on podcasts. It is still available on podcasts too. So if you're a YouTube person, become a follower, turn on your notifications, you'll know it's on. If you're a podcast person, which is actually, to me, just me talking to the camera, there's really no need to watch the video, and podcasts can free you up to, do other things. You can jog, you could be working out, you could be cooking a meal, and, you don't use your vision for something else and be able to listen to this in a more free moment. So, just look it up in your favorite podcast. Buzzsprout puts it out. I know Spotify, Apple iPodcasts, Reveal, people like that pick it up. It's also on Instagram. So if you have Instagram, look up Astrological Winds channel. I post the link there, and I also post additional information during the week a lot of times on certain key days that I think are like, oh wow, there's a grand trine at the moon, like, people should know about this. And that's never audio or video, it's just a few sentences, so it doesn't take any time more than to read a little blurb. And then also it's on Facebook, the link. My Facebook account is private, so you do have to friend me. It's Matthew with 2 T's and then Lawton, Lauten. Also, so pass the link on. If you want to give a donation, I won't say no to that too, of a currency. I'm, Venmo, I'm at Matthew-Lawton, the @ sign, and once again, Matthew with 2 T's, capital M, hyphen in the middle, capital Lauten. No amount is too small in currency to help, and I really appreciate that. But the best way to help me with that is I'm a professional astrologer, been doing readings for over 20 years. So get your natal chart done, or if it hasn't been done well, or not, or it's been only done by a machine, you're going to get a lot more out of a professional astrologer doing your chart. It's something that's never going to leave you. It's always with you. It's very much worth the investment. Also, every year around your birthday, I highly recommend getting your predictive reading done. It's your own weather forecast for the next year, just like I do each week here, except just for you, so that you know the kind of energy that's in your life. And it's not like, there's some answers there, and there's times where it's going to move and shift on to something else. Relationship charts for people who have just met, who have been together for a while, and, their relationship, want to see where that's going. Relocation charts, astrocartography, finding out where your power spots are in the world, or different places you might want to move to. Also, fixed star readings. If you're looking, your natal chart well, you're looking into deeper soul purpose type stuff, highly recommend that. If you have a child, and doing your children's chart helps to figure out how to parent them the best way, how to and to know what in their first 20 years, the major events that are coming in their life, that kind of thing. Also, election charts. If you're starting a business, getting married, some important event, it's highly recommended that you can get a chart done so that you start on a day that is the most fortuitous for you. There's no day that's perfect, but you can tip the scales way in your favor. Horary too, for people who are have some burning emotional decision or question that they just can't seem to get the answer to. A lot of times we can look into a chart and get that. That's also beginning classes available. They're on Dropbox. They're $25 a class, or $20 if you're a student. Also available for your group. Mini readings, lectures, question and answer sessions, classes, those kind of things. All of those things, best way to get me is my email, matthue823@gmail.com. That's matthue823@gmail.com. Or hit me up in the comments. And feel free to comment too. And thanks for helping spread the blog. It's definitely growing and growing. Really appreciate it. And I will see all you guys next week, and we'll see what's going on for March. And like I said, there's a real sweet aspect next week too, in the middle of the week. That'll be a real fun one for us. All right, I'll see you all then.